Hey there, back again with another video, and in this video I will be discussing about the activity lifecycle. So let's see what is the activity lifecycle is. As you can see, I have a picture here. Okay, just before it, I just tell you that it's a Codelab from Google, made by Google developers. So I'm just following it for this video. They have a couple of more code labs on this Kotlin fundamentals, so you can just check it out. But they provide a very good resources for learning. Okay, so let's get back to our main topic. As you can see, the butterfly has a life cycle from its birth to death. As like as the butterfly, our activity also has a life cycle. So we'll be discussing about it, and we'll be doing some practical stuff in our Android Studio to actually understand what's going on inside when we just start the activity and when we end the activity. So this, we will be experimenting on these things. Just before it, if you look at the diagram, the first thing is the activity is initialized first, then it's created, then started, then resumed. On the other hand, when it comes to destroy the activity, it needs to go through several steps. So these are the on post and on stop, and after that it actually destroys the activity. So we also have a fragment lifecycle, but I will be discussing about fragment lifecycle in part 2. So in this video I will be only discussing about the activity lifecycle. Okay, so as you can see, the first override method when an activity starts is on create, and the second one is on start, in some cases on restart when the activity has already been started before, and on resume after that. And when you just try to skip end the activity and you just come out from your app, the thing happens is on post, on stop, and on destroy. But there are different scenarios for this override methods. I will be discussing and showing you in Android Studio that what happens in which case. So you must be asking that why I should understand all these life cycle methods and the sequences that it's actually happening in sequence. So life cycle method is very important, because there will be different situations where you need to handle some cases through these life cycle override methods in your app when you are developing any application. So it's really important if you want to be a good Android developer. And I don't think so that without knowing the lifecycle methods you will be doing better on your application development. So it's very important, just focus on it, understand it once, and just feed it inside your mind. So let's jump into the Android Studio. And one thing I forgot to tell you, that you need to just clone a project. So we already have a project to experiment with, so you need to just go to a GitHub repository. I will be I'm putting a link in the description, so you can just find it from there. So what you need to do, just when you just get into the link, you will find a page like this, a repository page. You need to click on the root of this repository, click on it, and you will find a clone and download option. Just click on download zip, and you will have the zip file. And when you have the zip file, when you extract it with or unzip it, this file, you will find several projects inside it, and you need to just open the Desert Clicker Starter app from Android Studio. Just like file, open, and navigate your project and click on it. Select the project and click on OK. So I have already opened my project. So now we need to start working. Well, select Android and app from here and get into the Java directory and navigate to the main activity.kt file. So let's add some login statement in our activity lifecycle methods. So we start with onCreate, and after the super call, we add a log statement here, log.I for information, and if we type log.e, that is for error, and log.w stands for log warning. Okay, so this time we'll be using the information message, and we put a tag main activity. So main activity and the message is on create called. Well, we copy this tag so that we don't need to write it again and again. Now we need to override the onStart method, and we paste it here, and we change the message here on start. Just before it, we need to override one more method here, that is on resume. On resume called just before the on start. Okay, so we type it and say on resume. After that, we start on restart, and we pass the login statement, and we change it to on restart. As next one is on pause, and we write on pause here. Okay, so then the next one is on stop. Change the message, stop. And the last one is on destroy. This method is actually called when the activity is totally shut down. This means the activity is no longer available to the operating system. So we have our all activity lifecycle methods now. So our build is ready. Now let's see what just happened. As you can see, the first method here was called onCreate, onStart. Then the second one is onStart, and the last one is onResume. So I will be explaining what this override method actually does. But before it, if you just see that if we click on the back button here, you can see that on pause, on stop, and on destroy has been called. Well, to notice better, we will be putting some more log statements here. Let's say we put some star marks on this on destroy message so that we can notice the changes clearly. And at the beginning of the on create, we log another message, that is activity opening. And in on pause, just before the on pause, we'll be logging that on pause is the first step when the activity is actually closing. So we better here add a information here, that is activity closing. So this time just log this one, and let's see, compile it again. Well, this time, as you can see, the activity is opening, and when the activity is opening, on create is the first method that has been called, and the on start is the second one, and on resume is the third one. And if we press the back button, now in case of the activity closing, the on pause is the first method that has been called when the activity is closing, and the on stop is second one, and the on destroy is the last one that has been called at the end. Okay, so let me explain you what actually this method actually does. On create is the very first step when the all of your materials what you want to initialize in your activity, just once you put them in your on create method, so that the first time the activity starts, this all things are initialized. And the on start is a state when the activity is visible. You can see the activity, but it is still not interactive. Okay, so you can't do interaction in this state. You need to actually go ahead one further step to react with your interface. So the on resume method is the method when the activity actually comes into a interactive stage. Now you are ready to interact with your activity. You can press button and you can go to another activity. You can show messages, dialogues, and you can do some more interactive works there. But you must be asking that why this on start does not actually avail the interaction. So it makes sense. I will later explain you why. And the on resume is the state when the activity is in focus and you can't do interaction. Okay, so it's interactive now, and it's the activity is in focus. This is the main point. When something is in focus, you can interact with this. Okay, and the same way, not the same way, in the reverse way, we can call it, the on pause does the reverse thing. That is, when the on pause has been called, the activity is no longer interactive or not in focus. It's visible but not in focus in on pause. And in on stop, it's not even visible or interactive. It's invisible now in on stop. Okay, it's now invisible. Okay, just like on start makes the activity visible, the on stop makes the activity invisible. And at the end stage, it actually calls the on destroy method, and in this stage your activity object will be cleaned by the OS. This on destroy method actually says the operating system that, hey, we don't have any work now, so you can just clean up. So the OS actually understand when the activity on destroy method is called, the operating system understand that this object is no longer needed. So the garbage collector actually cleans up the memory for this activity object. Okay, so it clears the object and releases memory for other applications you want to actually work with. So well, now let's see a different scenario. Just open it, open the application. So we open, well, we just click on this desert several times, and as you can see, the desert count and the amount is increasing. Now if you just press the home button directly, as you can see, on pause and on stop has been called, but on destroy is not there because the activity object is still alive. If you go back, you can find your object again. Okay, you can find the values. If I go to the recent window, and I press this button and recent app option, and I click on my application, as you can see, the amount is same and the quantity is also same. We are not losing our values through the object. Okay, so because our object is alive and so the values are also alive inside the activity. But one more thing you need to notice, there is one more new method has been called, that is on restart. Well, on restart is called after the activity is created once. That means it will not call for the very first time. Okay, so if the activity object is still alive and you are returning to your activity, so the on restart method will be called for the very first time just before the on start. So that you need to, if there is anything you need to just restart, you need to resume, so you can put that code in your on restart method. So okay, then this other things are same, but if I put the back button, then the activity actually totally shut down and destroyed. As you can see, on pause, on stop, and on destroy has been called. Now I will show you one more thing here that is very important. Well, in the corner we have a share option. So if you press it, it will actually pop up a chooser dialog. So we have a chooser dialog. If you now look at the catalog, you can see that only on pause method has been called. Now remember what I have told you just a few seconds ago, that is on pause actually makes the activity unfocus. It was in focus, but it's now not in focus. On pause, it's visible but not in focus. On pause actually describes this. So now if you look at the app window, now you can't interact with this thing when this chooser dialog has been opened. You need to interact with the chooser dialog only, the components available within this chooser dialog. Okay, so but the activity is still visible. If the activity was not visible, then you might have seen the on stop method here. Okay, so as it is not there, so that's why this activity is still visible in the back, but it's not in focus. And if we click on here, as you can see, on resume has been called. That means your focus is regained. Now you have the focus. Now you can interact with this things available in your UI, your activity. But this is actually something different when you actually pop up a chooser dialog and these things are not in focus now, and you have to interact with the chooser dialog. And when you have done with it, you back and on resume has been called, you have your focus again and all these things. But the on restart will not be called when you just destroyed your object, destroyed your activity, and you just go back there. So as you can see, on create, on start, and on resume, and on restart is not there. Okay, but if we press the home button and go back to our application, now the on start is the very first method we can see here. Because it was not destroyed, it's actually restarting the activity. So that's all about activity lifecycle, and I will be explaining about the fragment lifecycle in the later video, the second part. So stay with me, and if you like this video, hit the like button and consider subscribing. And if you face any problem, let me know in the comment section. I will be there to help you. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.